Tonight, in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox television, close to 20 gangs of suspected bandits fall into the dragnet of gendarmerie officials here in the country's economic capital, Douala. The hoodlums said to be terrorizing inhabitants in different parts of the city of Douala were presented to media men and women. Today we bring to you images of what unfolded in the economic capital Douala. In this newscast, also ahead, the population of Bakingili, while in the southwest region of Cameroon, says that the village has not known peace since the arrest of its phone. That was the arrest of their phone that was several years ago. Since 2012, Chief Ephraim Enoni, the former Prime Minister of Cameroon, the population is demanding his immediate release, and they were speaking to our correspondent in the southwest region of Cameroon. Those are headlines. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox television. We talk about rising insecurity in the economic capital Douala. As we announced a few seconds ago, gendarmerie officials in the region launched a crackdown in different gangs of hoodlums said to be terrorizing locals in several parts of the country's economic capital Douala. The crackdown was launched since the month of December 2017, and close to 20 alleged bandits were December 29th arrested at the New Bell neighborhood in the Douala 2 subdivision for terrorizing the population and breaking into homes. 4 others were this month or earlier this month arrested in the Bonaberry neighborhood of the Douala 4 municipality. They were presented to the public in the economic capital Douala today at the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion. The operation was spearheaded by the commander Abina Ahanda Francois in collaboration with gendarmerie officials in New Bell and Bonaberry. They were caught in possession of guns, motorbikes, mobile phones. So we could see on our screens, so those are the suspected bandits that were arrested by gendarmerie officials in New Bell neighborhood and also in Bonaberry following a special operation that was spearheaded by the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion. They were presented to media men and women. That was today. It should be noted that students of the International School for Security Forces who were present were equally edified on the reality on the ground. That was the ceremony, or the event rather, that took place in the economic capital Douala today. Just to portray the increasing rate of insecurity here in the economic capital Douala. Now we talk about government officials that have continued to insist that the quality of the laptops distributed to university students across the national territory, the quality of the laptops distributed to students is not questionable. Speaking during the graduation ceremony of some 141 students from the Faculty of Medicine in the University of Douala, that was yesterday, the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famindongo, said that the laptops are up to date and that previous analysis of experts from his own ministerial department on the presidential offer were correct. Minister Jacques Famindongo urged those finding it hard to comprehend to acquire more knowledge in information technology. He was speaking during the graduation ceremony that also saw the presence of the Minister of Public Health, Andre Mamafuda. The minister urged the graduating students to exercise professionalism and commitment as they get to the job market. Let's now have an excerpt of the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famindongo, was speaking to Equinox television.
They are very competent, this batch of doctors, of pharmacists, and masters in biomedical sciences. They are very competent. They are also committed to enhance the profession of doctor, pharmacist, and biomedical. What I can ask them is that they must be humanist. They must respect the keys of professionalization, the keys of competence, the keys of humanism, because we are all in their disposition.
That is the Higher Education Minister, Professor Jacques Famindongo. They're speaking during the ceremony to graduate some students in the Faculty of Medicine in the economic capital, Douala. We now talk about the 41st Conference of Cameroonian Bishops that entered day 2 today in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Yesterday was an opportunity for the President of the National Episcopal Conference, Bishop Samuel Kleda, His Lordship Bishop Samuel Kleda, to condemn all forms of violence being orchestrated in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, EQUINOXE, as it tells us more in the following report.
The one-week meeting marking the 41st Annual Conference of Cameroon Bishops opened in Yaoundé with central focus on the training of priests who need skills to effectively preach the gospel. His Lordship Samuel Kleda, President of the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon, used the opportunity to strongly condemn all forms of violence orchestrated in the two troubled regions of Cameroon. He said, the National Episcopate, which is one and indivisible, supports peace-building initiatives and peaceful coexistence. Kleda's view is not distinct from that of Bishop Cornelius Fontem Eswa of the Bamenda Archdiocese, who says for Cameroon to regain peace, unity and stability, frank dialogue must be given birth to.
We think that violence cannot solve the problem. Violence only generates violence, and we are appealing to everybody to stop the vicious cycle of violence, because with violence we can only end up having violence. So that is why we're calling dialogue. Dialogue is the absolute means of getting to solve a better solution, a lasting solution to our problems.
This dialogue, he says, must not be accompanied by taboo questions.
The moment you start having taboo questions, you prevent people from addressing the real issues. And so we hope that the partners who are concerned would listen to the people. The solution we have always proposed right from the beginning of this problem is that there must be dialogue. Open dialogue, frank dialogue, dialogue in the truth. You know, you cannot have any reconciliation without dialogue, and we cannot have peace without reconciliation. So to talk about peace without talking about dialogue, without talking about reconciliation is impossible. To talk about peace without talking about social justice is impossible.
The National Episcopate also said relentless investigations are ongoing to lay hands on those who murdered late Bishop of Bafia, His Lordship Jean-Marie Benoit Bala.
L'enquête est en train de se faire.
And talking about the prevailing situation in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, the president of the African Bar Association, AFBA, has described the arrest of the interim president of Ambazonia and his collaborators as unlawful, calling for their release. Aniba Owaifo, in an outing, said that Sisiku Julius Ayuktabe and others were abducted after the invasion of their privacy by the Department of State Security and other military intelligence in Nigeria. The African Bar recorded that Nigeria, as a respectable and responsible member of the international community, equally has legal obligations under the United Nations Conventions on Refugees, and that one of those obligations is to protect and respect refugees in Nigeria, which is not the case going by recent happenings in the country. According to AFBA, the African Bar said that returning the refugees to Cameroon would be a total violation of international laws that forbids countries from returning refugees to the country where they are fleeing from. AFBA urged the Nigerian government to release the leaders of the separatist movement, tender an apology and compensate those that they qualified innocent. That is the outing of the president of the African Bar Association as far as the arrest of some Anglophone leaders is concerned. Now, the population of Bakingili, as we announced in the headlines, in the southwest region of Cameroon has been without a chief since the arrest of the former Prime Minister of Cameroon, Chief Ephraim Inoni. For 5 years now, villagers have been calling on the head of state to release their traditional ruler, whose arrest they say has brought untold hardship to the entire village. Details with Davis Maimo.
This is Chief Ephraim Inoni Palace at his village in Bakingili, already in a dilapidated state. Even a national flag hoisted at the palace is nothing to write home about. The people of Bakingili say since his arrest and imprisonment, life in Bakingili has moved from bad to worst.
We don't have opportunity for job, for employment.
Now people here, at least they are landed, that they can be employed in any other company. But this is not mean only for us, but English. We were expecting that by now the J-Power cement would have been in operation. Since they have laid the foundation stone, the deep sea port, up to now, that's what we're crying. So that let this village and the youth go for employment.
The street light that used to function when he was still at the corridor of powers are all shadow of themselves.
The time that the former Prime Minister Chief EQUINOXE was in power, at least we were fine in the village because he's the one who gives us the water supply that we're enjoying now in Bakingili.
We have a health center, but you can go there, you cannot get good drugs and all those type of things.
To the Reverend Chief of Bakingili village, so many appeals has been made from every quarters in Fako division for the release of Chief EQUINOXE to no avail.
I am Eliezer Joseph, the region chief of Bakingili village, and all the traditional rulers of the Fako division. That is our plea to the head of state that he should release our colleague. We are just begging, not force, but just begging.
Bakingili people can only hope and pray that the head of state pardon their chief.
What I am seeing here in Bakingili, the gods are angry. That's why things are very difficult, things are going so critical, things are going so bad to this village of Bakingili, because when the chief is being locked up, the gods are angry. We are begging the president to release him so this man will come back and take back his throne.
We now talk about the Meet the People tour of the mayor for EQUINOXE in the southwest region of Cameroon still, where the mayor for EQUINOXE has underscored the need for municipal executives to work in close collaboration with the entire population. It was during his Meet the People tour with the people of EQUINOXE, as David Simamo once again tells us in the following report.
According to the mayor of EQUINOXE Council, Tunde Lifanjo Gebre, the tour was to provide a free and democratical platform for public evaluation of his stewardship since he took over as mayor to the West Coast municipality.
Our objective of my tour is to know what I've not been able to realize and what I should do in order to realize my dream and my plan of action.
The Meet the People tour of the mayor and his team took the mayor to all the villages within the West Coast subdivision, identifying the immediate need of the people.
I will compile a comprehensive report of what the population is asking of, their difficulties, and what I think the state can do for us to solve some of these issues the population are interested of, and what I thought I could do. I've received everything, so I am satisfied, and I think my tour is 100%.
West Coast subdivision has peculiar need, such as pipe-borne water, the grading of streets from one village to another, community halls in the various villages for public gathering, and the electrification of some villages.
We now talk about the municipal executives in Tombel, that is in Kupe Manengoba division of the southwest region of Cameroon, where the population of Tombel is hoping that municipal budget would be used to construct roads and provide potable water amongst many other social amenities. They were speaking during the council session that took place recently that saw the adoption of some 637 million francs CFA as the 2018 budget for the said municipality. Katrin Kone tells us more in this report.
Poor roads infrastructure, lack of electricity and portable water are problems which could not be solved in 2017 by the Tombe Council. These problems are to be handled by the Tombe Council in 2018. Conscious of the overriding needs of its constituents, the council voted and adopted 637 million francs CFA as the council 2018 budget. During the session, the councillor noted a shortfall in the 2018 figures as compared to last year that stood at 794 million francs CFA. They say last year's budget, which was more, could not be able to solve the problems of the community because of the Anglophone crisis.
And we all know the reason. It is because of the crisis that we had here and there. The budget for this year has been reduced by 25% so that it will be more realistic, and more strategies are being put in place to then make sure that the budget is realized as soon as they can do.
However, the councillors remained optimistic in seeing that the 2018 budget be realized.
Our priorities in the 2018 will be on the health domain, education, mostly basic education, water supply to various villages that don't have water before, because we know water is life, as they say, water is life. So those are some of our priorities for the year 2018. And routes are very important too. We have farm to market routes. You know, our area is really a farming area.
The population are hoping that the amount voted for 2018 will be realized in the domain of social amenities in the locality. It was equally reviewed during the session that the council had engaged in a series of projects within the municipality, with one of them being the bulldozing of roads, which according to them will bring development in the community.
We are following on the deadline of the contractors, because in the road of Mpako, even now, we are still waiting on the contractor. He has not finished his job. He has just done close to 15%.
However, one will begin to wonder that if last year's budget, which was more than that of 2018, could not be able to solve the problems of last year, what will be of this year?
And a 2-day National Day for mourning victims of the flood and mudslide in the Democratic Republic of Congo is expected to end later today. The floods that occurred in slums of Kinshasa, the capital of DRC, killed at least 48 persons, as Manjikan Gabriel tells us in the following report.
These are the leftovers in the slums of Kinshasa, capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, after heavy downpours. The fatalities following the rain that wreaked havoc on flimsy homes which were flattered by mudslides. The flood and mudslide that occurred claimed the lives of almost 4 dozen in the Democratic Republic of Congo, with 10 of Kinshasa's 24 districts affected after the banks of Kalamu River gave way and flooded. The disaster, many experts say, couldn't have been avoided, as the rain was indeed torrential but not exceptional given the city's location in the heart of the central tropical Africa. The homes that were touched and made of flimsy materials had been constructed illegally and without foundation in a place vulnerable to floods. 3/4 of homes in Kinshasa are slums which have no access to sanitation or electricity, and proximity of these slums to wealthy areas is also a shock and a reminder of the Democratic Republic of Congo's deep inequalities. The floods came at a time when Kinshasa faces the threat of a cholera outbreak, with 220 registered cases and 23 deaths since November 2017.
And children have been missing classes since the start of the second term of the 2017-2018 academic year in some parts of Cameroon, as contract teachers downed their chalks to call for better working conditions. They have been complaining that they are still waiting for their integration into the public service as promised them by the government of Cameroon. That is going to be a topic of debate tonight. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Once again, good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have a teacher and a school principal. He's also an educationist Mr. Ngwane Basil, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Thank you, Mimi.
Tonight, as I indicated, we are going to be talking about the problem of contract teachers in Cameroon. They have been on strike. This, of course, not the first time, but now it's getting more serious because we're into a very crucial term, second term of the 2017-2018 school year. We saw how in Yaoundé they were actually protesting since yesterday. They refused to go to classrooms. First of all, what is your reaction as far as the situation is concerned?
I think the government should take measures, not just promising but acting this time around, because the government should understand that basic education is like the foundation of our children's future, and if it is jeopardized, we will find that we are bringing up mediocre citizens in our country. So the government who has been promising these teachers, they are acting on the promises of the government. And the government, as a father to these teachers, should do something as fast as possible, because while they are struggling to save the country and they are happily saving the country, they also need to put food on their table. And I think that is where the problem is coming. What
possibly could be delaying this integration process of contract teachers in Cameroon? Because you meet teachers that will tell you that they have been waiting for more than 20 euros. Others will tell you more than 10 euros ever since they graduated for them to be integrated into the public service. What is delaying this?
It is hard to tell. It is very, very hard to tell, because where does the word contract even come? Where does that word come from? You are a civil servant, you are a civil servant. Why should you be placed on contract basis when you are saving a key sector in the economy? Let us go memory lane and look at even those primary schools where they are talking of contract teachers. If you go through the primary school map, the basic education map, you will discover that the real teachers who are not among these contract teachers are not up to 20% of the teaching population. And 80% who are the ones doing the job
are the ones called the contract teachers, meaning that they are playing a very key role as far as educating
playing a very vital role as far as our educational sector is concerned. And if you go by it, you will discover that in some areas, some of these teachers that they call contract teachers are even head teachers, because a good number of them who have been serving the government for close to 10 years and so, where there are no teachers who are remaining, they give them the post of responsibility of school heads. A good number of them are acting in that portfolio. Now, you have been serving the government for close to 15 years or 10 years. You have been given a post of responsibility, yet you have been called...
You don't have the accompanying advantages.
You don't have the accompanying advantages, and you are still called a contract teacher. Why then were they appointing you?
So to you, the word contract teachers shouldn't exist at all?
The word contract teacher, they should remove it from our dictionary.
How should it be done?
It can only be done by integrating these teachers directly by the government. It should not be like what they said about 2 years ago, where they said that they should write a competitive exam before being integrated. These teachers, before they entered the ENIET, that is the teachers grade 1 training, they wrote an entrance exam, did their 2 years course and succeeded. The government awarded them diplomas based that they are teachers. They are qualified to teach in all the contexts of our educational curriculum in this country.
And of course, a good number of them should be knocking at the doors of some private institutions like the ones you are probably running.
Yeah. And when they cannot find it,
that explains why the number of teachers in private schools keeps swelling, and they don't really have good pay package, because a good number of them too are complaining about the teaching conditions in the private sector.
Actually, our government, I will say that our government should do something, not only for the contract teachers, but for those in the educational sector as a whole, because those in the private sector are at the mercy of their proprietors. You do the job, you are hailed for doing it, but there is nothing to take home. Most of these private schools, they end with 9 months salary, 10 months salary. Where does the other 2 months go when they are not being paid, whereas they are supposed to be paid? I think the government should set up a commission that will see into the fact that private school teachers are also being treated fairly. I think they love their job and they will love to do it better if the government motivates them by setting up this commission that will help the teachers.
As we said earlier, the strike action is not the first time. They have always been disrupting classes, calling for their integration into the public service. Of course, it should have enormous impact on the school kids, especially those of the primary schools in Cameroon. What are some of the impacts? We know how the head of state has on several occasions been reiterating the importance of teachers in Cameroon, how measures will be put in place to better their working conditions, but we are seeing the contrary on the ground with the strike action of contract teachers. What is the impact?
I think our head of state, as a father of a nation, should look into the situation of teachers in general before we talk of the primary school teachers. The text of application that was supposed to be put in place for even the civil servants who are teachers have not been put in place. Over 5 or more years now that the document was signed. But to put the text of application that will implement what the government signed has not yet been done. Is it that the government lacked the means? I don't think so. It is just the will,
lack of will,
yes, that the government, that I think the government lacks that will to carry it out. Because if the government can sustain the other sectors of our economy, why not the teachers who are those who are trying to build this nation by building up leaders of tomorrow?
Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point 2. Our televiewers, it was equally a pleasure having you with us in this edition of the news. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs until we meet again. Goodbye.